Hello, Dr. Collins. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
How do you feel?
I'm very excited because today I'm shooting the second video and you should watch it. We are going to talk about a very exciting topic.
Okay, so introduce our topic for today. What are we going to talk about?
So today I'm going to talk about an infectious disease, which probably most of you very well know. When we say an infectious disease, this is a disease that can move from one person to another person, either directly or through what we call vectors. And in this case, we are going to talk about malaria, which is transmitted from one person to another through a mosquito.
Oh, I actually didn't know that malaria is transmitted from one person to another. I just know mosquito causes malaria, but I never knew that it's transmitted. It transmits it from one person to another. Please explain to us
Yeah,
that.
so malaria is caused by very small organisms or germs that we call plasmodium. These are very small germs that we that are being transmitted or injected to a person from a mosquito. So what usually happens is that when you have a child or an adult or yourself with malaria infection, the malaria is within your blood. So I know most of you know blood. When you have an injury, you see blood flowing. So usually if you have malaria, it will be within the flowing blood. So what happens is that the mosquito will come at night or during the day or evening. It will bite you. It's going to pick up the malaria in your blood. The interesting thing is that it doesn't transmit the malaria immediately to the next person if it bites another person, but the malaria is going to move from its mouth to the gut, and it will stay there for like 18 to 20, 18, more than 18 days. During that time, the malaria parasite is going to mate within the gut of the mosquito. It will produce new offsprings, and these offsprings we call them sporozoites. They will move from the gut back to the saliva of the mosquito. So this mosquito, while it's looking for its next blood meal, is going to look for you. And this is, mind you, this mosquito bit the person 18 days ago. Now it's looking for another blood meal. It's going to inject these parasites into the next person. So this is how it's being transmitted from one person to another.
So technically, it takes 18 days for the parasite inside the mosquito to multiply and be transmitted.
Yes.
And I think that's why most people don't normally understand that malaria actually comes from one person to another. They think it comes from malaria, just like I thought.
Yes. So that's why you'd find some instances where a child in a household could be having malaria and no other child in the house has malaria. It's because if the mosquito bites this child, it's not like they're going to transmit it to the other children in the household immediately. This mosquito has to stay with these parasites. We call it parasite. They are still germs, but we call them parasites. A parasite is an organism that is something that depends on another for survival. So this malaria is going to it cannot move from one child to another within a household immediately, even if you get bitten by the same mosquito, unless the mosquito biting you is the one that is carrying viable malaria parasites at that particular time.
So you want to tell me not all mosquitoes, you want to tell me that not all mosquitoes that bite you at a given time have malaria?
Yes, not all mosquitoes that bite you have malaria.
And do we have a specific type of mosquito that causes malaria and the another type that doesn't cause malaria?
Yes. So we have, I don't know how many species of mosquitoes there are out there, but we have so many species. But we have one particular species of mosquito that causes malaria, especially the one that is found within Africa. And these mosquitoes are called Anopheles. Is a scientific term, so don't mind it. So this mosquito is the one that can be able to pick malaria from an infected person and transmit it to another person. The other mosquitoes, we have other mosquitoes with names such as Aedes aegypti. These mosquitoes cannot pick malaria, but they pick other diseases such as dengue.
Oh.
So, yes.
So I've never actually known that mosquitoes can actually transmit other diseases apart from malaria. Tell us about that.
Yes, so mosquitoes are able to transmit other diseases other than malaria, such as what I just mentioned, dengue, and through different mechanisms that they do this. Dengue, for example, is a virus. So it's only malaria that is a parasite that is being picked by this particular mosquito, and it transmits it. So sometimes you can be bitten by 100 mosquitoes in an evening. Say you've gone camping or you are doing some outdoor activity and you're wearing shorts or something, then you get bitten by 100 mosquitoes. Your first instinct is the way they've bitten you, you're likely to have malaria, but that's not the case. Sometimes you can be bitten and you are bitten by a mosquito that doesn't have malaria parasites. Yes.
Oh, that's great to know. Um, is there a reason why Africa is so prone to malaria as compared to other continents? Is there a specific reason why?
So the big reason is that during Africa is within what we call the tropics. So it's not the whole of Africa that we have malaria transmission. Countries like South Africa, they have very minimal malaria transmission. Is because the temperatures are a little bit lower. So the parasite needs at least 21 degrees and above when it's doing the mating process within the mosquito. It needs a higher temperature, at least 21 degrees and above, to be able to multiply and reproduce new offsprings. So so you can now start seeing that countries where temperatures drop less than 21, chances are malaria parasite cannot survive there.
Okay, but that doesn't mean they do not have mosquitoes.
They have mosquitoes.
Great. Okay, okay.
They have mosquitoes.
But malaria cannot survive in those mosquitoes.
Yes.
Or does it mean that they actually do not have that type of mosquito that spreads the disease?
They could be having that type of mosquito. The only difference is that the malaria parasite that the mosquitoes over there. So, for example, you are in Africa. You'll get a visa to travel to the US or to the UK or one of these countries, or Sweden or Finland. You know, their temperatures are quite low. So what is going to happen is, even if that mosquito is over there, you leave Africa with malaria infection in your blood, you reach there, the malaria will continue multiplying in your system. Probably you treat it. But if by any chance a mosquito picks it up, it's going to of course try and multiply, but the temperatures will not allow it. So you can use the word more of efficiency.
Okay.
So the efficiency is way reduced.
Okay.
Yes.
So explain to us the science. I know you've already explained how malaria is transmitted, but explain to us the science behind or rather, when someone is infected by malaria from scratch.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you for the question. So what happens is that so the mosquito will be flying around probably in the evening looking for a nice blood meal. They also have to feed. The same way we look for dinner, the mosquitoes too have to feed. So it will be looking for blood to take. We call it a blood meal. And if this mosquito has malaria germs in its saliva, when it's taking the blood out of you, it has to release chemicals into your system so that your blood doesn't coagulate when it's being picked. So in the process, when it's releasing things into your skin, it's going to inject these parasites or germs into under your skin. So immediately they're injected under your skin, they move, they translocate, or they move into, they are looking for, how to move. The next place is, I'm sure all of you know, the liver, because we eat it from cows. So they are going to inject these germs. These germs, their main intention is to move from the skin. Assume they beat your hand. They are going to move from your hand, travel all the way into your liver, and our livers are usually in our lower abdomen. So it's going to move through our blood, our skin, move into our lymphatic system, and translocate all the way down into the liver. During that phase, you can have some form of irritation on your skin, because immediately they're injected, we have our, what we call, our body defense system that kicks in. It's going to try and fight this parasite under your skin, but then some of them are able to survive and keep moving. So they will move into the liver. In the liver, they will stay there for a couple of days. They will multiply, produce more of them. The thing about malaria germs is that their motivation, or just like human beings or any organism, is to reproduce and multiply, because they have to survive. So they are going to reproduce in the liver. From the liver, they are going to move to the next place, is what we call red blood cells. Red blood cells, these are cells in your body that carry oxygen. So when you breathe, these are the cells that function to carry oxygen from, to your lungs. So after the liver is moving to the red blood cells, from the red blood cells, they will now multiply within the red blood cells, millions of them. At a particular point, you can find people with almost 1 million of these germs. After that, they are going to now develop further to a stage that can be moved into the mosquitoes. So they will develop to that point, then they will move to the skin, ready to be picked up by the next mosquito.
So the mosquito multiplies in the liver?
Not the mosquito.
Sorry, the
germs.
the germs multiply in the liver.
They multiply in the liver. A few of them, so they will produce like 1,000 or 10,000 of them. They will move out of the liver after a few days. Then they will move into the blood circulation system. So they will be moving to every part of your body, from the brain to your bones, to your bone marrow, to your fingers, because they're in the blood.
Is there a specific timeline for this process, as from when you a mosquito bites you,
Yes,
to when it now spreads to the entire body?
yes. So it takes about 7 to 14 days.
7 to 14 days.
Yes.
Okay, so that means I can get malaria here in Ghana and then travel to Kenya a week later for me to start feeling sick of malaria.
Yes.
Okay, great. Is there a way?
It's crazy, right?
It's extremely crazy to even know that. I didn't even know that mosquitoes, or rather the germs, spread or they multiply in the liver. That's something very new. And I'm glad I'm having this first-hand information before anyone else. So I also wanted to know, how do you know, or rather, what's the difference? Does it mean that when someone has severe malaria, does it mean they have much more germs, or what does it mean to have severe malaria and to have others with just not having severe manifestation of the sickness?
Yes. So this is $1 million question. Almost 100 years, scientists have been pondering about this particular question, and I'm glad a non-scientist is asking it. And I know most of our viewers are probably asking the same question. Why is it that my child can get severe disease of malaria while another child doesn't? it's one, as you said, is about the multiplication. So these germs, once they hit the blood, and this is their longest stay within the blood, and they can stay in your blood for as long as they want. The only difference is that if you treat them, then they die. So during this stage, they're going to multiply. So each red cell will get one germ. Within 24 hours or 48 hours, it would have produced at least 18 of them. Our body has about, 6 liters of blood, right? With millions of cells, probably about 10 million. So you can imagine within each day, each cell is producing at least 18 of them. So if they come out of the liver and they're about 10,000, within 48 hours, you can see is times 4.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So every 48 hours, they produce a multiply of the number of what was infecting people by at least 18.
Okay.
See. So within a few days, less than a week, a few days after a week, you are going to have almost 1 million of these parasites. Some of them will end up in your brain, some of them will end up in your liver, your lungs, and they will cause all kinds of symptoms. So that's why you see people developing severe disease. Some of them can be in a coma, some of them can have deep breathing. We call it respiratory distress, where you are struggling to breathe. And some of them can have very low blood, because each time the one infects, after every 48 hours, this red blood cell that has this parasite will lyse. Okay, the word lysing is like it will burst open, releasing those 18. And these ones will also infect other cells.
Okay, so they technically kill your cells.
They
your
kill
blood
your cells when they are living. And in the process, your blood levels will drop.
Make me understand something, Dr. Collins. I see, or rather, the manifestation of malaria in different ways. I've even seen someone sort of running mad. I have seen others. Of course, we've had so many people die from malaria,
Yeah.
but one that to me was very concerning. I saw a lady actually sort of running mad, and I was told that it's malaria. I was very young at that time. I was told it's malaria, that malaria has gotten into her head. Is it just the severity of malaria, or do we have different types of malarias as well?
So is the severity of malaria.
Okay.
But we have different types of malaria.
Okay.
And so there's a term we use which we call species. Species is like, is like the terminal end of one of, it's like what differentiates, I'll say an example, one human being to another.
Yes.
Or us and our previous ancestors. So like we have different species. Or if you say a monkey and a chimpanzee, those are different species, probably of the same family, right? So the malaria germs, they also have different types.
Okay.
And most often when you go to a medical doctor, they won't tell you which one you have.
But we have those that are more severe than others?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's one we call Plasmodium falciparum. In Africa, it's the most severe. In Asia, we have what we call Plasmodium vivax. Is the one that causes most of the infections over there. But in Africa, we have 2 or 3 others. We have one we call Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, and all these cause infections, but then they are not as severe as Plasmodium falciparum.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Dr. Collins, I think our time is really gone. And I think we need to actually do another video where I want you to be able to explain in details these types of malaria, where they are found, and how severe they can get to different people. I also want you to speak to pregnant women, and we normally see when pregnant women become sick or they have malaria, it becomes so severe. I want you to also address that. But before we go, I would like to know one thing. I don't know whether this is scientific or not. Why do mosquitoes make such an annoying noise when they come to bite you at night? Is that scientific?
They probably want to check whether you are asleep.
Thank you.
If you are
Thank you so much, Dr. Collins. Perhaps you need to do a research on that as well, because it's extremely annoying.
Stay tuned. I'll let you know in the next
Exactly.
video. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.